Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. This is our TNA show for the week. My name is George Coles. This is my tag team partner, Sam Moon.
Gary Rhodes, everybody.
Now this week the theme for TNA was open fight night. Now normally on open fight night we have a lot of action. The first thing we have is Jeff Hardy, which brings out Aces and Eights. He's going to call out one of them, which ends up being Mr. Anderson. But basically that's the opening segment. Goes right in. We have the first match of the night, and one of the very few. We have Chavo and Hernandez calling out Bad Influence. Now as an added stipulation, the winner gets a title shot.
It was a decent match. It was probably one of Chavo and Hernandez's better matches they've had. But I'm tired of seeing Bad Influence lose. They're the second best tag team in the company right now.
The thing of it is, there's only 3 teams in the company, and it's getting really stale unless they start beefing up this division. It's starting to look like the WWE tag division, non-existent.
Well, Taz was talking later on in the show, which is not affecting nothing I talk about now. He's talking about them putting the Aces and Eights putting Bischoff and Briscoe together as a tag team, which that would help. I mean, but you got 4 tag teams and 3 of them are heel.
I just think they could beef it up somehow, some way. Who knows? Maybe with some of the guys that are returning on these spot shows are doing. Now the next one we have Tara and Terrell calling out Gail Kim. Gail says that you're not good enough to call me out, so Tara's going to call you out. They proceed to start beating her up, and Velvet Sky makes a save. So at some point I imagine there'll be a tag team match between the 4 girls.
Mm-hmm.
It is what it is. It helps fill space to a pay-per-view. Now next we had Sting calling out Hulk Hogan. Thing of it is, Hogan's playing this role as such a dick that it's making him not seem to be a face in this part. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, it does.
Like, he should, if he's a face and the GM and everything, he should forgive Sting. Now, I'm thinking at some point either Sting or Hogan's going to be part of Aces and Eights based on how they're playing this now.
The way it's looking to me, because after the call out, Hogan kicked Sting out of the arena, and it looks to me like Sting will probably join the Aces and Eights.
Yeah. You
never know.
You never know. We already have a replacement Sting with AJ Styles.
There you go.
Now we have the next thing we have is Storm calling out AJ Styles, which brings out the Aces and Eights. They beat up Storm. AJ pretty much just stands in the crowd. I thought it was funny that it's TNA's version of S.H.I.E.L.D.
You know, it's funny. All AJ needed to do was point his bat out. You know, I don't know.
It's so reminiscent.
I'm glad that they're finally putting Storm with a main event guy to feud with. And it looks like it's going to be a longer feud. That way it keeps AJ away from the belt, keeps Storm away from the belt.
Well, Storm is kind of playing the Lex Luger role in this. And as he's getting beat down, Eric Young and Kurt Angle come out to make the save, which sets up a match with Angle, EY, and Storm versus Briscoe, Bischoff, and Doc. I thought it was decent. Out of the 3 matches they had, this was my favorite match.
And you know the thing is, the heels got over. They're supposed to be building Aces and Eights up, and they're actually doing a damn good job of that. That's one thing I cannot complain about.
You know what I've liked since EY's return is he's the serious character.
Mm-hmm.
He's not as comedic as he's been in the past, and I really think he's a great talent that could be used in many different ways. He's very similar to a Daniel Bryan to me. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, and the thing is with EY is so underused. He could be the comic wrestler. He could be the serious wrestler.
Kind of like a Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, and the thing is, he was a decent jobber for the group. When he was in Team Canada, he was pretty much their jobber.
Yeah.
And, you know, of a group everybody hated, people loved him. You know, that's this guy's ability. This guy could be a world champion.
A lot of people came out of that good. Robert Roode and Petey Williams came out great. Now, before we go further into the show, we're going to talk about our question of the week from last week. Now, the question was, they made a couple changes to the X Division. Namely, all the matches are now three-way matches, and they have a weight limit of 220 pounds. Also, if you lose, you have to earn your way into the next X Division Championship match. Now, before we get into our opinion, we have an answer from one of our friends on their opinion. Joshua Adams writes, I hate the changes. The X Division was its best with Joe, AJ Daniels, P.D. Sabin. Those guys brought the title up, and Hogan has tried to destroy it. What do you think on it, Gary?
X Division meant no rules, no limits, and they're shitting on this. And the X Division was the first thing that brought people's eyes to the company.
Yes.
Mind you, this is before the 6 sides steel ring or six.
Even when they were doing the weekly pay-per-views.
I mean, this has been a mainstay of the company, and it's made superstars. It's helped make Samoa Joe. It's helped make AJ Styles. It's helped make Christopher Daniels. It's helped make P.D. Williams. And they're
Sabin,
exactly. I mean, the list goes on and on. This company's been built.
Helped to keep Jerry Lynn's career going.
Yeah, well, this company's been built on the backs of these X Division wrestlers, and now they shit on it because they get bigger names signed like Angle and the Dudleys and stuff like that. I think if they would have still kept these big guys coming in and still worked with the X Division, I honestly think that they'd have more viewers, because what got me interested was the X Division.
Of the changes, the three-way I think is very interesting. I think it'll give to more faster-paced matches. I'd hate to put that as a limit. I think if there's an X Division feud, that they could have a one-on-one match, and that should be the way. But I don't mind the three-way portion. The weight limit I do mind, because like we've all say, Samoa Joe's been an X Division champion, and he's well over 220. Abyss, Kurt Angle. I mean, at different times, guys have stepped into the division, and you are absolutely right. The X Division was about no limits, no rules. It was basically the cruiserweight division without a weight limit.
Exactly.
And in the changes, the reason the X Division's lost flavor is because they don't have them on the TV. I mean, when you had guys on a regular basis like P.D. Williams, like the Machine Guns, Senshi, Loki, Christopher Daniels.
Okay, look at this way. Some of the best matches we've seen
Ultimate X.
This past year and a half have been AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels matches. And where do they come from in this company?
Austin Aries.
You know?
I mean, to me, it's just... It's lazy booking, putting these limitations on. Hopefully they'll go away soon. To me, it kills the spirit of the X Division.
To me, you know what the whole Hogan regime reminds me of is Bill Watts with the don't throw their guys over the top rope.
Yeah.
And that was a shitty gimmick then, and this is a shitty gimmick now. X Division should stand for no rules. No, nothing, because it was, like I said, it was it was right after it helped build like the cruiserweight division in WWE. Yeah. When ECW was gone, it had the extreme flavor to it that WWE wouldn't provide, and now it's just gotten bland. Now you got some guys like Kenny King that make a great show, Sanjay Dutt, P.D. Williams, excellent guy, but they've really shit on all these guys just to bring a bigger name in. Hardy couldn't hang with these X Division guys back in the day. When he came in there, AJ walked all over him. But now he's their face of the company.
Where AJ should be.
Exactly.
Now coming off of that, our question of the week for this week is next week, this Thursday show, we're going to have Gut Check between Adam Pearce and Magno. I hope I'm saying that right. I've never seen him before. But the thing of it is, they're going to go one-on-one. Who do you guys want to win? Not necessarily who do you think's going to win. Out of the two guys, who do you want to win? Let us know what you think. Hit us up on our Twitter. Put it on our Facebook. Put it down where?
Down there.
He's been waiting a whole week to say that.
You're damn right.
He didn't get to say it on my solo top 10, and now he's got it right here. You want to do a double tap?
There we go.
There you go.
You're welcome.
Anyway, back to the show. Speaking of the X Division, it was announced that next week, Sanjay Dutt, Mason Andrews, who played Harold on WWE, and it was in the X tournament here as well, and P.D. Williams will be competing to go up against Kenny King and Zema Ion.
Where was this at during this week's show? Where was the X Division during this show? I think the X Division should be part of every show.
Yep.
It's just like the television championship. Didn't every week the television championship should be defended?
That's an NWA rule.
No, when they were here, when Devon first got it.
Oh yeah, that's what Hogan said it.
Hogan set it up. Now look. So we'll see how long the X Division rules last.
I'm excited to see that Andrews and Petey Williams come back. Much like everybody else, it's been much too long since I've seen a Canadian Destroyer.
I'd have to say that's one of my favorite finishers.
It's one of the most ridiculous ones, but the athletic ability it takes to pull it off is amazing.
I remember when he was following Steiner around.
Yeah. Maple Leaf Muscle, baby. But then we got the third match of the night and the main event of the night, Jeff Hardy versus Mr. Anderson. I thought it could have been a lot better. To me, it was a good match, not a great match. I could have been burned out on the show by now, but to me, it didn't save it.
While you were sitting there talking, you got 3 matches, 2 hours worth of show. No go.
And none of them were 40-minute matches either. They were all 10, 12 minutes at the most.
You know, Bad Influence had the best showing that night. I wouldn't say they had the best match. I would say that.
I think the 6-man was the best in my opinion.
Yeah, but they had the best show, the Bad Influence. I was thoroughly disappointed. Well, before we do that, what about our count?
Well, yeah. Yeah, well, I'm getting there.
Okay, sorry.
We're still talking about this. I was just
okay.
adjusting.
Okay.
I take you out for one show and you get all attitude.
Shit.
Anyway, I mean, I expected better from these guys. I don't know why. Like I said, maybe it's the show itself. Maybe if I watched this match without the stink of the rest of the show, it would have been better. Now, before we go into our rating for the show, let's talk about the one thing that we haven't said so far, and that's the Hulk Hogan Thunderlips count. We had not one, but two Thunderlips.
That was the best part of the show, just only having 2 of his.
Exactly.
Don't get me wrong, I like Hogan back when I was a kid, but he's really killing young talent. The whole situation with him and Sting.
Are you a Hogan mark?
No. But that whole time they were in the ring, that could have been another match. That could have been another young kid trying to make his name.
There were for open fight night, there wasn't a lot of fighting, and I'm going to go right into it for our rating system for the week. If you haven't seen our show, we do a 1 to 5 rating, 5 being the best, 1 being the worst. 5's a Kurt Angle, 4's a Christopher Daniels, 3's a James Storm, 2's a Christian York, 1's a Garrett Bischoff. What do you think, Gary?
For me, as lackluster as this show was, I'm giving it a Bischoff.
Giving it a Bischoff?
I'm giving it a 1. I was not impressed. I found myself trying to stay awake to watch this because, I have a busy schedule, so I try to watch this as much as I can.
Well, that's why we're 4 days late on this. We had a very busy. Both of us had a very busy weekend.
And I was looking forward, finally watched this, and it was like, man, really, I waited. This is the shit I get.
Yep.
So that's why I'm giving it a Bischoff.
I'm going to be a little bit more generous to it. I'm giving it a 2 at Christian York. The 6-man match I enjoyed. The announcement of Dutt, Andrews, and Petey Williams I liked. Adam Pearce on the gut check I really liked. He's someone that I've been a fan of. I liked his NWA from Hollywood work and also his Ring of Honor work. So I'm happy to see him on here. The reason for me it's so far down is the lack of matches on Open Fight Night. You can't have Open Fight Night and have 3 matches. It should be wall-to-wall fighting, maybe a couple segments. It should be 3 segments, rest fighting, instead of 3 fights, rest segments. My opinion. But basically, that's all I got to say about the show. Anything you needed to add?
Disappointed.
My name's George Coles.
Gary Rhodes.
And this has been Heel Heat.